Hello, this is J.N.S, and today I want to cover the esoteric meaning behind Psalms 23. And so, by that, I want to get into the psychology behind it. Okay, because a lot of times, and regardless of what spiritual practice you may believe, a lot of times people use Psalms 23 in various rituals as a pick me up, as something to chant. It's kind of like a mantra, and so um, I want to go line by line and break down. Matter of fact, let me share my screen. And I had said previously that I was going to do like a breakdown of Psalms 23, and I just finally have like the time to do it. And so I want to go line by line and just break this down. And you're going to see me switch some of the screens so I can show you some pictures and some graphs and whatnot of what I'm talking about as we go through it. And so let's begin. Well, first off, let's kind of talk about like the context of like the Psalms in general. So obviously, this book is credited to King David, which was like a melanated king in Israel. And to be quite frank, the collation of the book of Psalms as we know it has not entirely been revealed. It's been hidden. And so the book of Psalms was written by the priestesses of this particular king. His name obviously wasn't David, it was another name. And it was kind of like it was written by sibyls. These were oracles, these were priestesses that was on, I would like, in modern day times they would be looked at as uh on the payroll of the king, but technically is not a payroll. These were like queen mothers. These were sibyls, and they would collate and come up with rituals and mantras to give to this king to protect him. Okay, so during this time with King David, there was this, there was a rift between certain societies, secret societies, in which there were occult wars. They would get into occult wars. This was the science. The occult was the game of the kings, so to speak, of the royal bloodlines, in which they would use like these intergalactic mentalism and occult knowledge to kind of stay in power. This is what they do today. If you haven't figured this out, this is what they do to stay in power today. They were always doing this back in the day. And so you would have certain societies warring with one another, even bloodlines and families going at each other through these occult sciences. Or what I like, I prefer the term esoteric, because once you use the word occult, people think of like Satanism or devil worship or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just having hidden knowledge from the masses, in which you use to your benefit to uh, bring about a certain outcome for your bloodline. And obviously, the royal bloodlines had this information. Um, and they were descendants of like they were descendants of interdimensional beings, will you? Now I don't want to get too deep into that. I do cover that in other videos when I talk about how this information even got disseminated to those royal bloodlines. Also, it transcends a particular pantheon. And so there is cross section between, say, the teachings that the esoteric sciences that you would find in Egypt, uh, and the sciences that you would find in, say, like the Kabbalah or in Sufism, or even in the East when you come into Hinduism. Hinduism is one of the oldest. Obviously, you have Egypt as well, as far as the Egyptian pantheon texts and whatnot. And so there is some cross intersectionality between these pantheons as well, because again, when it comes to esoteric sciences, it was given to a very specific bloodline that transcended a landmass. Okay, now they may have had various uh, they had various beliefs, various theologies, and whatnot, even various governments, kingdoms, and whatnot. But all in all, the systems itself sort of stayed the same. So when it comes to the book of Psalms in particular, this is one aspect of this esoteric science that I'm talking about. This was the original form of intergalactic mentalism. When it came to King David, he was what we would call in these days a targeted individual based on them wanting that throne, wanting what he had. And so a lot of times when you're reading this Psalms, you see him just constantly pleading against, praying against people who are after his soul, praying against, always constantly talking about God coming to get him, save him, save him. Why would somebody be talking like that constantly throughout a whole book? Why is it he constantly, save me from my enemies, save me from my enemies, protect me from my enemies? What was going on back then? You have to ask yourself, what the hell was going on where you just sitting there day after day, you know? And obviously some of this stuff is coded. A lot of it is coded. And so when we break it down, you start to really understand that this is a key to unlocking some of the more esoteric aspects of the mind science, the psychology of the mind, of reorienting the chambers of the mind, your autoconscious, your prime conscious, and your subconscious, in terms of dealing with the derma urge. At this time, this concept of a derma urge was already in place. The concept of the archon takeover, that was already in place 2,000 years ago, thousands of years ago. And in terms of the hijacking of this planet in the direction where it went. So that's why you see a rift in the sudden dissension from a place of where humans were ascendant in their consciousness in terms of their ability to understand the universe, understand how the proper mind sciences. You just literally see a dissension from us building like pyramids and understanding sacred geometry and understanding very very high level stuff, and then you just see this sudden shift in consciousness and just descends for the last 2,000 years. That's what we've been in, this age of dogmatism, this age of Pisces, the age of patriarchy. Now we're not just now moving out of that, but when this particular text was written, and whether you think whether you think so he wrote it or the king didn't exist or it's a code or whatever, it doesn't matter. When it came into its fruition, or at least its collation, the archon system had already been in place in terms of this invasion of human consciousness, this takeover of human consciousness, this mind control system. The mind control system, believe it or not, in terms of this planet, was not always here. It was a certain set of beings that was able to get a hold of very powerful knowledge, and they misinterpreted and perverted it purposely. Now, could that have been the fallen angels themselves that did that, that decided to take a turn and do that? Did they descend in consciousness and decide to do that on this planet? It's possible, but there is also another sect of beings that have taken control over very powerful knowledge and used it for their benefit to the detriment of humanity by implementing the mind control system, by perverting religion, by perverting sacred sciences, okay, and by inducing fear, and by targeting certain powerful bloodlines, the bloodlines that are prophetic, the bloodlines that are supposed to bring about a certain new day. This was his bloodline. It was always known that there would, from David's seed or from Abraham's, there was this bloodline that would usher about this coming Christ consciousness, this age of Aquarius, this age of Saturn, this age of divine feminine. And so that bloodline had been started to get targeted thousands of years ago. Once the derma urge started, once the other set of inorganic beings gained control over the derma urge by that esoteric knowledge. And so what King David was struggling with was these psychic attacks, was these occult attacks on him. He was literally dealing with that daily. And if you can read this book and see it for yourself, even if you read Psalms 18, he's talking about the sorrow of death encompassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. I cried unto my God. She heard my voice out of her temple, and my cry came before her, even into her ears. Why would somebody? I mean, literally every Psalms is literally just talking about plead my cause, oh God, with them that strive against me, fight against them that fight against me. What's going on there? What the hell is going on? Like, what are you dealing with as a king? Why do you need to write these things? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, and so for those that's wondering, like, why is all this strife? It's not that much spiritual warfare in the world. Well, for a royal bloodline that's being targeted by occultists and by secret societies, it is that deep. And if you don't have a grasp over the psychology of your mind, then you are going to end up self-destructing or end up mind controlled. So he was battling pretty much a form of mind control that they were trying to implement on him, on this bloodline. It's the same thing. And when you start to compare it to what Yeshua was talking about, and again, you don't have to believe the characters, but or you could say, oh, they from Egypt, or I don't care about none of that. I'm not here to debate that. Literally just study it objectively for what it is, as a psychology book, and draw a parallel between what King David was talking about and then what Yeshua was talking about. These were clearly individuals that the bloodlines was being targeted. Now in Revelations, you hear Yeshua say, I am the bloodline of David, I am the true morning star. There is literally a war going on between certain bloodlines, of one in which you have the true morning star, a true energy of a morning star that wants to bring about enlightenment for this planet. And then you have the false imposter, a false imposter, homunculus deity spirit, a very wicked, malevolent spirit consumed with mind control and power. And they are not the rightful heirs to this system, to the earth. Uh, they are not the rightful heirs. They have been, it's been prophesied that they will rule for a time, but they were always, it was always known that they were going to be thrown out of power. We are now in the day in 2024 where these families are supposed to be pushed out. They are supposed to be gone, and they are fighting tooth and nail to stay in power. And so their last bet, what they have been doing literally for the last 2,000 years, if you haven't noticed, is killing off anybody from this bloodline. Now, again, they have enslaved this group of people, this same group of people. They have persecuted this group of people. They have gone around targeting certain bloodlines that they know descend from those who are secrets of the royal keepers of the royal secret, people who are heirs to King David and Yeshua. Anybody that is attached to that energy, they have been going around and knocking these people off. And to be honest, a lot of them are in the Black American bloodline. Yes, a lot of them are in Africa, but believe it or not, they had tracked them and brought them over here. The ones that were over here, and they obviously started to go after the more Sephardic ones in Europe, and then they obviously rained down on the indigenous ones over here. It is a very specific bloodline that transcends what you would call this scientific DNA, and it's based on a light code. It's based off a light code of a hypertext, uh, uh, with that of a hypertext code that is within the bloodline. So that means that you could be in a different geolocation or geographic location and still have the code, the light code of this bloodline. And that's why, um, they had this documentary. He was what's his name is, I think his brother name is Ronald or something, or forgive me if I don't say his name right, but he wrote he created this documentary called Negroes to Hebrew. I'm sorry, Hebrew to Negroes, rather. And he talked about like this various bloodline that kind of got scattered, like these 12 lost tribes or whatever. Whether or not you believe that, I don't care. I know that it's interdimensional. It's higher than just what your physical eyes can see in terms of the tracking of these bloodlines and where they went and where they are at. However, those in the know at the highest levels of running this system, they very well know who's who, especially if you are in America. The ones that they have the direct connection to, the closest relation to King David, they have been knocking them off either by death, putting them in mental institutions, or having them off themselves. They put you in, it's a certain program that they enact once they find out that you have the light codes, and they go after you. And so that's one context to be aware of when we're talking about the whole entire book of Psalms. I know it's heavy information. It's a lot of information. You don't have to believe it at all. Because again, it's a lot of this stuff doesn't pertain to every human. This is a very specific bloodline that I'm talking about, and so if it's you, you would know. And when it comes to, like, say, when, in the age of divine feminine and Christ consciousness and whatnot, we're talking about an age of enlightenment, a golden age in which the planet returns to Mother Earth, and in which it returns to balance and restoration. And so when it comes to where women fit in with this energy, with me personally, I can only relate to this from the pre-Adamic civilization point of view. So obviously, before these texts were written, before this earthbound energy, before the idea of the Hebrew bloodline being even descended on earth, I go above that because I have access to that realm and I have access to that knowledge. And so pretty much I'm not trying to promote like Hebrew Israelite stuff, because a lot of that stuff I don't agree with, and I know it's been bastardized in terms of the misinterpretation of most of this stuff. They don't even give credit to the proper authors of the book of Psalms. They won't even give credit to the proper beings of the characters in the story itself, or understand that it's cross intersectional. They don't even understand who even created this Hebrew bloodline. And so to me, I'm not here to push any dogma. I'm just literally stating that, giving the context of why would this book of Psalms even be written like that, and the reason why you can use it for ritual, and the reason why you can use it for mantra, and and how it's imbued with its power, is because it was written by a group of women along with King David. I'm not saying he didn't write any of it. I'm saying that they were writing this stuff out together as a, I won't say coven, but as a group fighting against another group that was enacting an occult war on them. That's why they say you don't really want to go into spiritual warfare with people and with certain bloodlines, because you don't you could end up dead. It's very serious. And kings at this time were doing it. A lot of times it was fun for them. A lot of times occult wars be fun for people. That shit is not fun to me. I don't see why it's fun to other people, but it'd be fun to engage in spiritual warfare for some people, because they get off on they have a very low vibration and they're very unenlightened. And so they'll pick on random people based on to most likely be an energy vampire off of them, or to try to take what that person has and to ride off of their essence. This is what the idea of sacrifices come from. Okay, so it's very deep stuff. And when you read this book, they're telling you about sacrifices. They're telling you about mind control systems in place. They're telling you about archons. They're telling you about inorganic beings that are the enemy of your soul. They talk to you about certain brotherhoods. They talk to you about the 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 sacrifice of children and all types of stuff. It tells you just right in front. It's the same stuff going on today. It's the same stuff that Isaac Cappy was trying to warn people about, that Hollywood that the stuff that's going on in Hollywood. It's the same. It's the exact same stuff. So if nothing else, you can at least be caught up with, like, okay, this has been going on for at least 2,000 years. It's been going on. So what the hell happened? It was a hijacking of the planet. And so that's why the book of Enoch is removed, because it goes into detail about a lot of that stuff. That's where the stories of the Nephilim, all this stuff is hidden, because they don't really want you looking at that stuff. And unfortunately, what they're going to be trying to do now, or what I've noticed the powers that be, and I am a power that be as well, but the inorganic powers that be are going to try to do is try to tell humanity that the Book of Enoch is false, or pretty much the Gnostic texts that are going to become popular again. They're going to try to either hide them, so they're going to make it harder to find that information, or with the Book of Enoch itself, they're going to start to kind of start to see that material removed off of line. It won't be so freely available as we start to come into this new age where you start to realize, okay, we live in an interdimensional plane. We're multidimensional species. Humans are hybrids. How we were created, how the Hebrew bloodline was created. I keep telling you, the Hebrew bloodline was created by the dragon riders who created Atlanteans as well. And Atlanteans' DNA is in the Hebrew bloodline. I say that openly. I don't hide that. I don't care how hidden it is. I don't care how much that information is occultic. It's coming out. Okay. Because you need to wake up. Okay. And so there's light codes of that bloodline from the Atlantean aspect, as well as uh, reptilian. Not necessarily the Draco kind, not necessarily the one that is causing all of the riffraff. It could be. Some of you are. Some of you are, but not everyone. Okay, so you have to know thyself and awaken that aspect of the dormanted DNA, and it will communicate to you your galactic side, the galactic side that has been hidden because they the inorganic ones don't want humans to awaken to that aspect of themselves. You're supposed to just think you a human that's born of flesh, gonna die and turn to dust to clay, you're gonna go back to ashes, and that's it for your ass. And if you did good, you may go to heaven, or you're gonna go spend eternity in hell. That's what they want you all to pretty much believe. But we know that we are spirits in a human body, and that we are this is a transitory state on this planet. We're in a transitory phase of learning, of becoming enlightened. Or if you're not evolving and you're just here for some of you here for recognizance mission, some of you here to stir up some shit. Some people are just here. They've just been time looping. They're lost, they just been time looping, and so depending on how you got here or why you're here in physical flesh in 2024, only you can discover that and know that. You obviously can go get a reading or something of that sort, ancestral reading, and study your genealogy and whatnot, and you get a bigger clue. See, with me, with my background is from royal military priesthood. That's just been in my blood for a long time. You can even literally study the last names of my biological parents, going all the way back, at least to almost 1,000 years, and you literally just see everything meaning being a part of a royal military priesthood. The literal names of the meaning, the literal meanings of the last names, the coat of arms, the occupations that was held, and even see it time loop even today unknowingly within my bloodline. With obviously having a parent that's in the military, and kind of like a priest, even though he's not ordained, he's very much a priest. And even with myself being an ordained minister, I do have natural military science gifts, but I am not in the military. But I do have it's natural because it's been in my bloodline for 1,000 years. And then you'll see other people, they'll have natural gifts as well. They'll have natural things that's in their bloodline. It could be business, it could be spiritual stuff. It could be it could be anything. It could be working with a woodwork. You have some people that are just I had a friend, she just was naturally, she was a part of the Sephardic Moorish bloodline. Now, you could look at it like literally within 5 minutes that I met her, I said, this woman is a Moor. And it just was so obvious. And she was a Black American. She had been in America for hundreds and hundreds of years, just like me. But I could tell you from different bloodlines that I could tell she was a carpenter, like the stuff with the hands. I just knew that instantly when I saw her. I said, she knows how to build. Come to find out, the lady has no training, mind you, but literally made furniture. She made nice ass chairs, beautiful chairs. I mean, and she would, beautiful crafting. She'll lay that. She used to lay woodwork that I remember she had bought a house. She had her daughter get a house, and it was one of the pick me uppers where you renovated. She renovated that bitch by herself. Sure did. Now, and it was funny because she had her husband. They would go and do the renovation. She told me he was just sitting there, and she was literally laying the towels on the floor. This woman had no training, zero training, She installed a sinks by herself. Installed. She was just. It was just natural to her. It was just, it was in her bloodline. She just had this knack for just building, for craftsmanship, and um for carpentry. Like literally, she would just. I remember she used to make bed frames, beautiful chairs, and she would want to sell them. And I just thought it was really interesting to see that spirit on her. It was just such a strong spirit. I'm like, that is just you, you know. And then you'll see others; they'll have this natural gift of song and dance or athletics. So you have to study your bloodline, and that includes the last names for the Black American in particular. And so, if you're Black American, it's very important that you study the surnames, because you didn't just get them surnames out of nowhere. And believe it or not, there was a swiping of the identity. They have not told you the true history of the quote unquote Negro American, the Black American. They have not told you the true history. Obviously, it's now coming out that we are a lot of us are indigenous. Yes, but then they're not telling you how this all popped off either, and how the Sephardic Moors came over here, and how many of them were Black, and they did come over as the colonizer, and they did enslave Africans, and they did work. They did set up this white class of their heirs over from the 800 years that they ruled in Europe over in America. They did set up a Masonic Moorish system governing America via the law of commerce, of admiralty law. And that's also mentioned in the Bible, by the way. I can break some verses down about that. That's really interesting. That's really it gets deep. It's some deep stuff, man. That's also in here, coded in the secret, obviously. So the average person won't pick it up, but if you're from the bloodline, you're gonna pick it up. So that's a real thing. And so there's scholars that try to break that down. They're trying to bring this information out because it's obviously hidden on purpose. When we talk about King James being Black, and we talk about George, that there were 8 presidents before George Washington and all this stuff, and there were 8 Moorish presidents, like why is that stuff buried? Why is it hidden? Why don't they want you to know it? You know, why do they not want Black Americans to do their genealogy or to know their surnames, to study them coat of arms that's attached to the surnames? You must study the coat of arms that's attached to the surnames, because that's going to tell you what bloodline you come from, the gifts in your bloodline. Even, and you may say, well, that's the European side. I hate the European side. It's about Pan-Africanism. Okay, don't be so quick to think that European just means white. Okay, because a lot of them Europeans were Moors. Over here, they might have had even light skin. Okay. You have to do your own genealogy, because you may think, oh, you may think that even you having dark skin or whatever comes from Africa, and it doesn't necessarily mean that. It might actually be from the colonizer more. Okay. And so that's going to give you the knowledge of some of the sciences within your bloodline. I'm not saying that for those of you that are clinging to Africa, I'm not saying that you can't find that from your African side as well. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, don't throw away any part of your DNA aspect because of a history that you don't necessarily understand, that's multifaceted. The history is multifaceted, so you may be trying to generalize or put a blanket jacket on your particular bloodline history that doesn't even align with you. Just like they talk about how the only reason why we got certain hair textures or certain skin colors is because our ancestors were raped. That's not true for everyone, not for all of us. Of course, there were people that got uh, sexually assaulted and whatnot. I'm not saying they didn't, but there are unique stories in place, and so you have to know that. And with the surnames of the Black Americans, believe it or not, that will give you a much bigger key into what you could ever imagine about yourself. Now, I don't know if they are, I don't know what's the big to do about burying that. There was a website that I had gave called forecrest.com that was literally, that let me, that used to give like the coat of arms of the last names, right? But the history of the last names, particularly of the Norman of Conquest in 1066. Obviously, how all the Masons traveled from over in Europe to over here when they got exile from the Jacobite Wars, that in Ireland and as well as in Spain. This is a fact. Okay, this was a bloodline that traveled their ass over here. Now there was some set tripping. There was some set tripping. The Irish, the Ireland, the ones that lost the war in Ireland, they kind of stick together, but they also mingled in with indigenous. Okay, and that's how a lot of us have these Irish. Tyrone is an Irish last name, right? Why do all these Black Americans is literally only associated with the name Tyrone? Look it up. Tyrone is an Irish last name, but it's a Sephardic Moorish Irish name. So pay attention. Why is all these Black Americans name? Oh, the only person you name, the only people that you run into that's named Tyrone is a damn Black American. Let's be real. You don't see no white people named Tyrone anymore. How is an Irish? Ask yourself, how is an Irish name that was found in Ireland only being used in a Black American culture, only Black American lineage? And it's like that with many names, by the way. Okay. And so that's it. There was some set tripping going on, but that's back to the site that I was telling you about, forecrest.com. They took that site down that after I had came out with some information publicly, and they locked my ass up behind that stuff. Like the stuff I was giving out was way too ahead of its time and way too powerful. I was telling Black Americans, get your ass up on there and start to search your genealogy, look at them coat of arms that's attached to your surname. I've literally not even a week after I had put that information out publicly, the site was taken down. And they claimed that they was going to do some construction. They reconstruct the site, right? The site goes back up. None of that information talking about the history of the surnames is available anymore. None of it. I found out that the bloodline of my people being a royal Moorish Sephardics from the royal military priesthood related to the founder of the Knights of Templar and all that stuff. I found that out from that damn website. And in the names of my bloodline, my adopted family and my biological mother and father. I found all that out from that website. Why is that website going now? Why they don't put it? And I was just bummed because I had put it out publicly for people to go to, the other Black Americans to go and hurry up and do it. And I said, hurry, go get it while it's hot. Well, that shit taken down now. You can't find none of that. And so it's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. And this is what they've been. This is how it goes. But during this awakening, with this age of Aquarius happening, and honestly, the age of Aquarius is the age of the divine feminine. This is the age that Yeshua was talking about. A lot of people don't want to talk about the esoteric side of Yeshua. They only talk. They give you this Constantine, this King James version, or the Constantine version. They just messed all that up. But he was also, again, a part of the bloodline of David. He also studied, obviously, the mystery sciences in Egypt and in the East. And in the East, he was called Issa, Issa. And they talked about him, the same stuff, being the coming, the morning star, and about him, learning their sciences of the left hand, not the left hand path, but some of the right hand path. But it was a mixture of the sciences that he learned from the Shakti and Shivaite knowledge. That's why he was able to do a lot of the miracles that he was doing. It takes a high level. You have to be ascendant to get to that level, though. Make no mistake about it. I'm not taking from the fact that he was a mortal that figured out a way to become divine. He was supposed to be that example to teach other humans of this is how you ascend through consciousness while you're in a human flesh. This is how you do it quick. This is how you do accelerated path to reach a godhood. That's why he said the Father and I are one. God and I are one. It was a code. The kingdom of God is within. Greater work shall you do than me if you put in the work. Ye are all gods. Ye are all sons of the Most High. This is literally just right there in front of people. From those of us of this bloodline, it's literally like, here's the keys, here's the keys, here's the keys. Hurry up and follow it. And obviously he gets killed, and then the secret societies that was behind the collation of Christianity in terms of obviously Constantine and his people, the Roman Empire at that time, and the councils of Nicaea that they was having. The agenda that they wanted to push was for one of dogma, so that you can externalize your power and missed all of the codes that he actually taught, because they put, when they collated what the Bible would consist of in terms of the canonization, they were very specific of what they wanted to do. And the Roman Emperor Constantine made it very clear with this information that this nigga was teaching. With this whole book, whatever this is in here, we about to take this and make this a state religion so that we could control people, because this is a psychology book. So it's like, oh, mind control, mind control. Here we go. Here we go right here. We're going to use this and take out certain information, take out what they took out 66 books. I'm sorry, 44 books. They took out 44 books out of the Bible. So they removed 44 books and then started twisting up stuff that what was being said. He started twisting up the teachings of Yeshua, the teachings of the disciple, all everything just got twisted up. They started giving, just messing up everything because it was like, well, we about to implement our agenda with this. You never let a good crisis go to waste. So after he died, they did spend some time. Now, granted, it took years. We talking about 100 something years, but you got to figure that in scenes and some of the Gnostic groups, there was a lot of Gnostic groups at this time that kept writing stuff down for them 100 years before the after this death happened. Um, Now, obviously, things get lost in translation, but these Gnostics, they was writing a bunch of material down of what they saw, what they witnessed, the things that were happening, and things were it was still spreading. This idea of Yeshua as a morning star of the person that was teaching this information, it was still spreading all throughout the Roman Empire up to 150 years after his death. So they figured, you know what? It don't seem like it's going away anytime soon. So we gonna make this a state. We about to make we about to make this a state religion. You don't let a good crisis go to waste. And you got to figure a lot of these groups, like even like I'm not coming at this group. I'm not even gonna say the name of this group. They're very powerful. One of them, they go away for they actually literally plan 100 years in advance of what they were gonna do and how they're gonna carry it out. Another group is 200 years. So we got one group, one powerful secret society that spend 100 years studying stuff and planning what they're gonna do with the information. Then you got another group that'll take 200 years. Is it a coincidence that after a certain amount of time after this murder, this assassination, that they decide, okay, this is what we'll do with this information and with this book and with these teachings from Judeo from Judaism, we'll create this Christianity thing, and we'll teach humans that the only way you can be saved and delivered is through through one person, and all this nonsense, mind control, externalization of power, dogma, fear-induced religion comes about. Fear-induced religion, and it's very unfortunate, but that's how you pervert, or that's how you reverse energy, is through controlling the narrative. If you could control the narrative, then you are in power, and they know that. These groups know that, and so when in the Council of Nicaea and this canonization, a lot of people obviously didn't go along with it. They had 350 bishops. I'm going to say this took place in 70 AD. Don't quote my dates, because I'm just going off of the dome of of this information. But you certainly can look up the Council of Nicaea and the 350 bishops at the first council. Um, there was considerably more, but a lot of them, they had to go into exile, especially those that were part of the Gnostic groups. They were not with what was going down. They did not agree with what was happening with the Bible, with even this character of Yeshua. They didn't agree with that. They was like, you can't tell them humans that. The Gnostic teachings are very powerful, very, very powerful. And it's like, why are you watering down our stuff? Why are you perverting this information? Like, why are we lying? Why are we taking out books? Why are we taking out the book of Enoch? Why are we taking out the book of the Basilides? Why are we taking out all of these powerful books of the of Gnosticism? Why are we being asked to remove that and to hide this stuff? Why are we being told, like, a lot of people didn't agree with all of that, and so they were killed. A lot of them were killed, and then some of them had to go and hide the information in caves. That's why you have the Dead Sea Scrolls, Nag Hammadi texts. They had to go hide information in caves, or they had to go start their own secret societies. They had to go underground or hide. Literally had to hide. And so that's the context of what now let's just get into it. I'm not long-winded, so forgive me. Then back to the Psalms 23. So that there's some context for you. And so once again, King David, as a part of a royal military priesthood bloodline of the Hebrew light code, which obviously consists of Atlantean and reptilian light codes. And I can prove that with Psalms. Read Psalms 18 if you want to see him talking about some damn dragons. Okay, it's a couple of them. It's not just Psalms 18. It's a couple of them where I can show you where he talking about uh, him calling his some of his dragon. Um, Oof, it's deep. But anyways, let's go. So the Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. Okay, so what is the Lord? God is my shepherd; I shall not want. What is that a code for? What is that a code for? So line by line, we'll go through it. In intergalactic mentalism, if we are to view this as a psychology book, it will be your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is the seat of godliness within you. This gives your direct connection to God, to the Godhead. This pineal gland right here. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. When we say God is your shepherd, what is a shepherd? That is someone who is skilled, who can find a place that can a shepherd. They lead a herd. They can lead. God is your shepherd, I shall not want. Okay, she maketh me to lie down in green pastures. She leadeth me beside the still waters. This was originally written she. It did change to he, but I'm just saying it was originally written she. And so if you guys have a problem with that, that's fine. But I can only state from my bloodline with how this was originally written. And the he does not resonate with me at all. When we're talking about a dragon, primordial mother goddess that David called upon several times throughout the book of Psalms, it is clearly a she. Um, and that is something that you have to go through a series of mystery sciences as well as um, gnosis and coming into that knowledge. But for those who know, they know. But she making me to lie down in green pastures. So when we're talking about the God is my shepherd, you have to be skilled to find a place of green pastures. When we talk about lying down in green pastures, if we're going with the psychology of the brain science, now lie down is usually your theta or delta state. Okay. Now theta and delta state, let's look that up. Now we have the idea of a pineal gland. Now I want to actually look up delta and theta state. Let's go here. Let's type in theta state brainwave. Because now we're dealing with the brain. We're dealing with intergalactic mentalism. The way it was, this is a code. This is a secret code for that. So theta waves are produced when you're lightly sleeping, dreaming, daydreaming. It's a state of deep relaxation and making memories, right? So obviously you have gamma, beta, alpha, delta, delta. But for lie down, when you're lying down in green pastures, we're talking about theta and delta. Theta is your best meditative state, brainwave for manifestation. Okay, just so you know. That's why when you practice subliminal programming, it's best to do it in theta. When you do automatic writing, it's best to do it in theta. And so when you're lying down in green pastures, you are in theta state as a show. Okay. And so green pastures itself, it stands for the fertile land. It represents abundance and fertility of the land, obviously. So you have to be as skilled as a shepherd. God is my shepherd. You have to be skilled to find a green place, a place of green pastures. You have to be skilled in inducing theta meditative state so that you can manifest. Remember, theta is your best state for manifesting. So you can manifest a fertile land, which represents abundance and fertility. Green pastures always represented abundance and fertility, as well as a flail. So we have theta state. Now let's go here. Flail. Now again, it is no secret that royal bloodlines from whether it was the order of Melchizedek or the Hebrew bloodlines the royal bloodlines of this family did study Egyptian pantheon and Egyptian mystery sciences. You guys can get mad about that and deny it. It's just true. It's just very obvious. So we'll get there. Green pastures, and I'll show you what. We'll talk about the flail in a little bit, but the green pastures also is a symbol for the flail. Flail always meant you have to discipline your body. So God is my shepherd. You have your pineal gland. I shall not want. She maketh me to lie down in theta meditative state by disciplining of the body, which is the green pastures also represents a flail, mind you, to meditate on abundance and fertility of the land. Now, if you are a king or a queen, you would need, if you're from a royal bloodline, this is very important. Again, this was written by those of a royal priesthood slash King David, as well as his queen mothers. You have to be able to manifest and meditate on what represents fertility and abundance of the land as a king or a queen for your parishioners as well as your commoners and your citizens, for your civilization. That's just common sense. Okay. And so that is what that code means. The next one is she leadeth me beside the still waters. Now, what does still waters mean? So now let's look up still waters. Still waters always stood for disambiguation. Disambiguation is a code for alchemy. Let's do still waters and disambiguation. Okay. Now, this is very hard to find this information, but this is something that I intuitively it was revealed to me by God, but you're still able to find, nonetheless, some remnants of what the codes mean. So when we talk about disambiguation, we're talking about the removal of ambiguity to make something clear. And so if your pineal gland is leading you beside the still waters, it's removing unclarity, it's removing obstacles to understanding. And this disambiguation process, still waters being a symbol for disambiguation, and disambiguation being a code for alchemy. You see it right there. Alchemy was an early proto-scientific science. Okay. Obviously, what are the 7 stages of alchemy? So we're seeing that now. So your pineal gland, the seed of godliness is within you, shall not want. You'll meditate theta delta state on the abundance and the fertility of the land by discipline of the body through the flail. You'll be led through a process of disambiguation, which means to remove obstacles to understanding through the transformation of alchemy. That is what Psalms 20, this is just that verse alone. That's what that literally means. Through disambiguation, you'll be led through the evolution, soul evolution. This is the start of the soul evolution of the mind science, of understanding how to go from an unenlightened state of consciousness to an enlightened state of consciousness. That's literally what this means. Obviously, the next verse makes sense when now that you know that this is a code word for the evolution of the soul through alchemy. That's pretty much just a transmutation of an unenlightened soul to an enlightened soul, from ignorance to awareness, self-awareness, removal of fear, removal of delusion, removal of greed, removal of ignorance. And look at the next verse. She restoreth my soul. Now, in the context of alchemy, restoring of the soul makes sense, because when you practice alchemy, you're going to go through the fire. You're going to go through the shadow work. You're going to go through a lot. It's the process of calcination, dissolution, separation, conjunction, fermentation, distillation, and coagulation. Now, I can break down these 7 stages. We can go into this, but we'll be sitting here for hours. But you guys now that you know what this means, you are to go and go and research if it's interesting to you to go and look at the seven stages of alchemy from the spiritual aspect. Yes, there is a scientific aspect of turning lead into gold, and yes, you can turn lead into gold. Actually, real shit, you know. But this was also a sacred science, a secret science of how to evolve and ascend from human consciousness to God consciousness, from unenlightened to self-awareness. Okay, so you go on Google and you type in spiritual alchemy, seven stages of spiritual alchemy, and you go and you look at calcination, dissolution, separation, conjunction, fermentation, distillation, and collation. I may do a video on this, you know, but to me, I've been dealing with. I think I covered in a couple of my books actually. I think self knocking self redox for Black women covers some stages of alchemy. Uh, yes, a couple of my books I talk about alchemy quite frankly. Um, I believe in my Tantra book, I talk about alchemy. So to me, I guess I'm just over the topic, so I don't feel like covering it here. But now let's go to the next verse. She leadeth me in a path of righteousness for her name's sake. If you're an alchemist, by degree of being an enlightened soul, of having that awareness, you're going to believe in righteousness. You're going to believe in righteousness, not self righteousness, not false morality, not hypocrisy, but righteousness, right mind, right thought, right knowledge, things that serve the auspicious self, things that are in the best interest of yourself as well as the universe. Okay. So things that are auspicious. That's what righteousness is. You're gonna if you go through the alchemical stage, you learn how to properly meditate, which is what lie down stands for, the theta meditation. And God is your shepherd, and you discipline it of the body. You're going to, after you go through your alchemical stage of becoming enlightened, you're going to be led in the path of righteousness. Okay. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Now, after that, we have yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. What does that mean? We come on. We living in the dirt. It's a derma urge down here. It's a matrix system that feeds off of the soul essences of humans. Let's be real. Though, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The shadow of death, that's obviously your own personal demons. This is a double entendre. It's your own personal demons, but it's also having to deal with the demons of other humans and also these archons. We walk through the valley of shadow of death. A lot of times, for those of us of a certain ilk that we call the chosen ones or enlightened ones or targeted ones, whatever, it does feel like you're walking through the shadow of death on planet Earth. It does. I shall. It says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I will fear no evil." Evil is to live backwards. Evil is inauspicious energy that do not serve you and do not serve this universe. Now, if you're from a royal bloodline and you're a queen or a king, you're gonna know what doesn't serve your kingdom, what doesn't serve your queendom, and in your eyes, that's going to be, whether it's subjective or not, evil. At this time, yes, there was an archon system in place that was feeding off of the essences of humans. The deal system was in place. The sacrifice system was in place where they're sacrificing children and sacrificing. Yeah, that and in our eyes, that was evil from this bloodline. Again, there are some in our bloodline that have infiltrated from the Nephilim, and they have also stolen our knowledge and stolen and misinterpreted our stuff and try to wear our spirit. It's called spirit cooking. They try to harness who we are naturally and wear it, like they say. People try to act like they the real people, but they the imposters. They the synagogue of Satan, but they call themselves. That shit is real. And so, yes, through I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, my own shadow, my own ego death, as well as, so it's a double entendre, my own ego death, my own demons, my own shadows work, but also this derma urge of archons that's using ancient technology to mind control this matrix. I will fear no evil. I will fear no backwards ass motherfucker. No hating motherfucker. No none of that. For God are with me. Remember what God is my shepherd, is your pineal gland. God art with me. Now this is supposed to be a disciplined pineal gland, a awakened, a transformed, transmuted pineal gland, mind you. And obviously, you can externalize that. The God within, you can look at it as a God, as a Godhead. It doesn't matter if you want to externalize it. You can do that. I'm just giving you the code from those of us of the royal bloodline, of the Atlantean dimension of how this stuff was originally meant to be in terms of intergalactic mentalism as a psychology book. It is coded. Now, this was done by obviously Queen Mothers of King David, and as well as this king itself. I'm still getting information on who this figure was, because people say they not real, whatever, or that David not his real name. Obviously, the damn name is not David. How is a melanated Jew, melanated Hebrew named David 2,000 years ago? Obviously, but I'm still doing that research on that aspect. But I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Now, this is very important. Now, let's go back to the rod and the staff. Now, again, and these kings did go to mystery school in Egypt. They knew their sciences. It was not a big deal. And it just is what it is. Rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And this is from a royal bloodline. Now, you obviously see a rod in his staff, and you obviously see a flail in his hand. Now, what else is this a code for? Now you see it. Rod and thy staff, they comfort me. What is this a code for? It's a code for your brain horns. Let's look at the brain horns. They used to have some really good pictures of the brain horns. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. This is the brain horns. Ventricles of the brain. Now, this is something you're going to have to study. I'm giving you some heavy, heavy code. Obviously, you know when they talk about the UJET with the pineal gland, with the how that's inside of the brain. Now we talk about the horns that ride a nice staff. They comfort me. Now, if you are looking at this at the proper rod and staff, if you could get a good picture of it, it'll look. You could tell that it's a rod and a staff. If we talk about God is my shepherd, I shall not want. This is through the eye that creates your reality. Okay, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Now let's go back to, and obviously that's a code for the brain horn. You get that. Look at this, and then look at the UJET. People could get upset about this, say, "Oh, that's not what that means in the Bible." Oh my gosh, I can't believe you mixed that up. It's run parallel. If you know, I have a master's degree in religious studies, and I'm an ordained pastor. Like this is what it means. You can continue if you want to be on a kindergarten level. Okay, let me be humble. If you are just now if you are a baby soul, then it is okay to continue with where you're at. I don't have anything against that. But for those of us that's ready to advance and ready to actually dig deep into what this stuff actually means, then let me just put this in. I'm just researching because I want you to see, and you're ready to go to the next level. So look, that's what I'm saying. It's the same information. It's the same information. See the brain horns right there. That's the side of the brain horn, mind you. That's where your pineal gland is. The rod and that staff, they comfort me. Now, again, it's a different pantheon. It didn't mean that they laying credence to the eye of Horus, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's the same science. with the alchemy transformation. You can see the Kundalini energy. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Still waters was also for those of royal bloodline, you become an initiate of Scorpio. That's another thing that still waters stand for, by the way. Scorpio energy. Again, this is a mystery science. You become the initiate of Scorpio, the Scorpio energy. For the still, this is what still waters also means in the Book of Psalms. That stands for, in addition to alchemy, the awakening of the Kundalini energy. Lie down in green pastures. She lead me beside the still waters. She restore my soul. She lead me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So you got your alchemy. You learn how to meditate first. Pineal gland, you learn how to meditate. You learn how to go into theta state, to think of, to manifest a fertile land of abundance. And you have to be skilled as a shepherd to do that. Then you go through your alchemical stage, your transformation of the soul through the still waters and removal of disambiguation through the Kundalini initiate of Scorpio, Kundalini awakening. This is what still waters also stands for. Then you walk through this valley, shadow of death. You do your shadow work. You realize the Dharma urge that we're living in terms of archon control. And you'll fear no evil. For God art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Your brain horns, God's rod and staff, pineal gland rod and staff. Doesn't matter how you want to look at it. But you can clearly see. You can clearly see what this is. Share this tab. You can clearly see pineal gland right there. Rod and thy staff, they comfort me. This is your pineal gland. I rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Now you can study the ventricles of the brain and what they are in control of. What are they in control of? The emotional body and the mastery of the mind, mastery of the analytical mind, mastery of the emotions. Because this is all a psychology game. And so let's actually go back to the Pharaoh. Okay. Let's actually go back there. Now, rod and thy staff. And this is, if you look this up in their pantheon as well, as far as what a crook and a staff means in Egyptian pantheon, it's pretty much the same thing. You're the keeper of your emotional body. That stands for the Anubis head, the Anubis staff. And I'm sorry, the shepherd's crook. Shepherd's crook. The shepherd's crook in Egyptian pantheon means keeper of the emotional body. Okay. And the staff, which is the staff of Anubis, is the master of the mind. Now, if you look at when you talk about the valley of shadow of death, right, and you cross-reference that with Anubis staff, come on. These people clearly knew more than you had to be. You had to be dealing with, if you were a king or a queen, there's no way, and you run in a whole civilization, there is no way you can be myopic in your thinking and in your knowledge base. And these are ancient wisdoms that get passed down. And so you would be expected to know, just like we talk about Yeshua. And people take that, they try to make it, they get upset when you talk about it. But yes, he was in India and in Egypt studying their mystery sciences. This is what the priest of Melchizedek did. They still do this to this day. That's why a lot of the order of Melchizedek got really, they get a lot of slack in today's time, but they've been doing that for thousands of years. It's nothing new. That's why they bash King Solomon for doing what he did with knowing so much about different pantheons and different the Sumerian texts, and so he knew a lot about the Sumerian deities, and how he's one that talked about the Goetia and all that. And granted, that part never resonated with me, but I see it for what he did when he wanted control over these archons and over the Dermerge. And so I understand why he did what he did and the way he went in terms of King Solomon. I understand he wasn't going to go through what his father went through. You don't see you see the difference in the book of Proverbs and the book of Psalms? Do you literally see the difference? You know, the spiritual warfare that King David had to deal with these occult wars, with these occultists and these other secret societies coming after his bloodline. Constantly scared, constantly talking about his soul's in danger, his soul's in danger, his soul. We talk about the soul selling. Even in Hollywood, it's about, oh, somebody sold, they did this, they did that. That contract stuff, all that's been around for thousands of years. It's nothing new. Read The Murder of Reality by Pierce Beck. It's nothing new. And so when it comes down to his seed, Solomon, and obviously the whole idea of Solomon and solar man and all that's a code too. That's a high level code. Just like we talk about Yeshua and the 12 disciples. That's also high because the universe is mental. So your manifestation of what you can see physically, even if you do manifest as an apparition or a phantom body, a physical body, just even your walking existence can be coded in high level mentalism and high level science. No lie. And I could break that down with just the 12 disciples itself as being the representative of the 12 the 12 cycles in your spine and sorry in your brain, ventricles of your brain. And obviously what each aspect of what each disciple represents correlates to an aspect of your brain and mind science. Now, whether these people really existed or not, or whoever wrote it like that, whoever coded it like that, whoever had the sense to put that out like that, it's ingenious. And it's not just that way with the Bible. It's like that when you read the Bhagavad Gita, it's like that way. So to me, it's like, again, if the universe is mental, this is a transducer. The brain is a transducer supercomputer, super processor. And so you'll be able to manifest things in the physical flesh, right? That you can physically see with your eyes. And it could be telling a double entendre of multiple messages, the occult, the esoteric and the exoteric aspect of it. So yeah, you might have 12 disciples, Peter, Paul, Mark, and all this stuff, whatever. But then when you start to study their actual character, the personality of each one, how it correlates to the brain, and how it correlates to uh, the faculties of the mind, and how you organize the mind to also, once again, do the greater works that Yeshua was doing, the great work, the alchemy. Yeah, it's deep. It's some deep shit. And my upcoming book is talking about that. Talking about like what does each disciple stand for in terms of the faculty of the mind, and how do you utilize all aspects of these 12 disciples in the brain, and talk about in your brain matter itself to take control of the driver's seat of your damn pineal gland. This is what Yeshua was teaching. Now, he actually, I think that he was such a cool teacher where he literally found these 12 disciples, or whoever was studying him also was in the know, who studied what was going on and also was in the know, probably a gnostics or probably someone in the secret society or something, or a high level, whether they knew some shit and they wrote it out like that. They wrote it down like that and passed it down through the ages. However they did it, I think is quite fascinating. But that. Let me get back to my topic then. Their rod and night staff, they comfort me. And so the shepherd's crook is the keeper of your emotional body, and the staff is the master of your mind. Now remember, that's a code for your brain horns, and that's a code for the protection of your pineal gland. You, and then obviously the aspects of what those parts of the brain, what those parts of the brain actually stand for. There are parts of the brain that regulate emotions. We know that. There's part of you have the hippocampus, the thalamus, and the prefrontal cortex, and all this stuff. They all protect. They all serve a purpose. Some deals with speech, communication, your analytical abilities, your creative abilities. Okay, you have the right side and your left side. Right side correlates with uh, the correlates with the feminine, and the left side correlates with the masculine. I believe it's reversed. I can double check that. I know in certain sciences the left side always correlates with the feminine. But when it comes to the brain itself, I believe it's reversed. And don't quote me on that because obviously I have lots of information and some things get jumbled up. I could research it right now, but I don't feel like it. Um, so let's go on. It says, "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Now this is deep. Now this part is deep. Now we're talking about in the context of the psychology aspect of this, just the brain. You got your pineal gland, you got your rod, and you got your brain horns. Keeper of your emotional body, master of your mind. You don't went through your alchemical stage. You don't went through your transformation. You know how to meditate, right? You discipline your body. Thou prepare who God prepares. The pineal gland prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. What is that? The aspect of your auto-conscious. The pineal gland relates to your auto-conscious and prime conscious. Now we're digging into the analytical psychology of this. Now we about to, and this is very important. The auto-conscious, the auto-conscious and the prime conscious of the pineal gland, God, is going to prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. What prepare a table of what? Prepare a table of your manifestation, because now you know how to manifest. But you can prepare a table of love. I can prepare a table of abundance. Prepare a table. Now prepares a table, a table of glory, a table of abundance, enlightenment, in the presence of my enemies, in the presence of the archons, of those that are sold out to the Dharma urge, those that inflicted occult wars on you through your brain, through your pineal gland and your brain horns, and through being the master of your emotional body, the master of your mind, disciplining of the body, going through the kundalini, remember the still waters, disambugation of the alchemy, going through the initiate of the Scorpio, still waters, awakening of the kundalini. Now you are in control. Now you can be the master manifester. It takes some time. I'm still working on it myself. So, the auto conscious, now that you have all that information, the auto conscious is going to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. The auto conscious of the mind. This is the auto conscious. This is deeper. This is one level. This is, because I don't look at the subconscious as beneath, but this is higher than the subconscious, obviously. This is connected to the pineal gland. This is the soul level. Okay, so it's the auto conscious, not subconscious. You can look at it as the subconscious because that's what humans are taught to do in 2024. They're taught to look at it as the subconscious. So it's not a bad thing. It's better, if you see it from the auto conscious. The auto conscious is where you get into the psychotronics, the psychomancy. Okay, and so the auto conscious is going to prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. You're going to be a master manifester regardless of who's trying to hate on you. Though you walk through the valley of shadow of death, you done conquered your inner demons. You done did your shadow work. Thou anointest my head with oil. The pineal gland anointest my head with oil. What does that mean? The secretion of the light. This is a lightened pineal gland. This is an activated pineal gland and a lightened third eye that secretes the blue flame, this light throughout the body. Those who have had that experience, you know what it feels like to have that liquid run over that head. For those who awaken that kundalini, even if it's halfway, or even it's partially awakened, and then it goes back, you know that feeling of enlightenment. That's a priceless ass feeling to have. Okay. The feeling of equanimity of the mind, that liquid, and it feels like a liquid, a fire, a beautiful flame that flows over the head. Okay. God anointeth my head with oil. My cup runneth over. What does the cup stand for? That's the conscious mind. The cup runneth over with your manifestation. The cup runneth over with things you bring into fruition. My cup runneth over with joy. My cup runneth over with my new business. My cup runneth over with my whatever it is. Read it that way. Thou prepares the table before me. Thou prepares the table before me of love in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over with so much happiness. My cup runneth over. That means your conscious mind, your auto conscious has now produced enough energy to produce it through your conscious mind. Your auto conscious mind now can manifest at a high level where it's constantly running over because the Kundalini is awakened. That's literally what this Psalms 23 means. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, because you're at a high vibration. Goodness and mercy, forgiving yourself, you loving yourself. I will dwell in the house of God forever. God is a dimension of consciousness. Okay? God is a dimension of love. You're going to dwell in the house of God forever. You're going to be awakened forever. You're going to have self awareness. You're going to be enlightened forever as a king, as a queen. Okay? And those of us, we know what that feels like. Even if you descend sometimes, you have to get yourself back up there. Climb yourself back up. If you do activate, you know, fall off, you go you just get yourself back up there. But that's what thou prepares the table before me. That's your auto-conscious mind in the presence of your enemies. Because people hate on you. You still got to master what? Your emotional body, and you got to be the master of your mind. And you have to discipline your body with the flail. And you still got to work on yourself. You can only work on your reaction to shit. You can't change people. People want responses or arousals out of you. You can only control your motherfucking reaction. You can only change yourself. And you can only focus on your reaction. And that's what that's telling you. Thou prepares the table before me. And look at that God as the pineal gland. Now you can look at it as an external God out in the heavens of Sky Daddy, or you can look at it, you know, as a Elohim or Yod He Vov He. That's fine, because sometimes we need that catalyst. It's all Atman is Brahman, Brahman is Atman. It is all the same. It's all one. It's all interconnected. So it doesn't matter. And that's why I can't understand why in this Dharma urge you guys fight against, you know, the Luciferians and all this stuff. Yeah, they're all weird. I mean, it's weird. It's all weird. The whole religious thing is creepy because again, it's coming from the point of view of so much misinterpreted hidden information, perverted information, stolen information, and from that perspective, the whole thing becomes botched, regardless of what side you stand on, in my eyes. And so it's like, well, I'm just going to follow my bloodline order that transcends Earth. That didn't start on Earth because we are all star seeds and galactic cosmic beings. Anyways, we're all cosmic anyway. So I want the cosmic knowledge. I want the God knowledge. Okay, I'm not about to sit up here and listen to and be in kindergarten in first grade and third. You know, no. I want that high power. I want it revealed as what it once was. And so that means I have to awaken myself. And that means what was the Sibyl's teaching? What are the cross references and the cross intersectionality between all of these pantheons, between all of these sciences? Why is every text talking about interdimensional beings from the cosmos? Why are these cultures that come up with these from these powerful bloodlines, why are they all saying the same thing to a certain degree? So that to me is more interesting. But that's what Psalms 23 means. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of God forever. And so when people use Psalms 23 in their ritual, and after, you know, when they do their money ritual or when they do their cleansing ritual, whatever it be, they are invoking the aspect of the God with the seed of godliness within to go on the path of the alchemical transformation of the self through higher consciousness, from a low state of consciousness to a higher consciousness. So even if they actually don't embark on the full 7 stages of alchemy, they've still, just from just saying Psalms 23, have given them a whole heap of energy of mind science to say, well, I'm going to go from a low state of unawareness to awareness, at least in the terms of where I know that I am protected, I am safe, I shall have no evil, for God are with me, that rod and a staff they comfort. Even if they don't know all the intricacies and stuff that I just detailed, you know, it still it's still very powerful. Even if they're saying it in the King James version, not saying it not in Hebrew or Aramaic, it's still very, very powerful. Okay, because now we're tapping into a bloodline that descends from dragon riders and descends from the Atlantean dimension, that descends from the chaos intelligence room. That is a very, very powerful bloodline. And so when they say Psalms 23, now you have a working knowledge of what it all means, because the stuff was hidden. And this stuff, some of it wasn't even hidden. Some of it was just unknown, because they didn't have the proper blood. The people from the bloodline, they done killed a lot of us off, or they have oppressed us in such a way where we're totally unaware of who we are. And so you have to have somebody that would awaken to that from the bloodline, that will remember that knowledge. And you say, well, who are you, Kali? Like, who the hell, And I've told you guys multiple times. I've laid it out in books. I've laid it out as much as I can without talking too much. I've already got myself on watch list, and obviously several assassination attempts. It is what it is. But I mean, I can only do so. I've come forward through my awakening. My bloodline is tied to the military royal priesthood that goes back thousands of years from this bloodline. Now, when my granddad had just died, my biological granddad had died, and I want to say in 2022. Yeah, 2022, right? And before I had found out that he had died, like I would say 3 days before I found out he had died, he had came to me. Now he was already dead. I just didn't know. Mind you, I had, you guys know I'm adopted, and so we didn't have a relationship or anything. But this man came to me in this dream. Came to me in a dream, and he had, again, he was already dead. I just didn't know he had just died that day. The day that I had the dream was the day that he died. Is what I'm trying to say. And so he comes to me and he gives me all a bunch of information. The same time, homeboy Saint Bernard comes up to me. Saint Bernard is the founder of the Cistercian order, founder of one of the founders of the Knights Templar. This is an ancestor of mine. This is a bloodline ancestor. I'll show you. This same time that this man dies, my actual grandfather, not David Clairvaux. It's wrong. Okay, this Saint Bernard. This is someone with Moorish light code from the Sephardic Moorish military royal priesthood. He was a knight, but he founded a Cistercian order, founded the Knights Templar, and he has connections to the founders of founder of the Knights Templar. And so this man also came to me and gave me a heap of knowledge around the same time. This would all happen within the span of a week. Came and just singing like a canary, singing like a canary. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with all this? Same with my grandfather came, and he was showing me. He started showing me all of the patriarchs in my family. I don't know why they didn't just go to my dad. My dad is still living. I don't know why he didn't go to my dad. He came to me and was showing me all of this information about the Masons, showing me all of his regalia. Yes, obviously, my bloodline, that blood on both sides are Masons, and so he was showing me that because his father, A.D. Jordan, was a Mason, and so he literally showed me all this stuff, and I don't know. The thing is, there's imposter masonry, and then there's real masonry. There's intergalactic masonry that came from the Atlantean dimension to planet Earth, and then there's the fake one that has been perverted. And so with the real masonry, it can be passed down through epigenetics of a bloodline when the patriarch or the matriarch, usually the matriarch, mind you. In Atlantis, it's the matriarch. But on planet Earth, you guys reversed everything. And so with planet Earth, it goes through the father. My grandfather gave me like all of this information on my epigenetics just awakened. All of it. He gave this to me. He was showing me all of this regalia from all of the patriarchs of my bloodline on that side of masonry. He was showing me all this stuff. And that's when it was revealed by even Saint Bernard himself, because he came to me as well at the same time. This man right here. Through dreams, obviously, through dreams. I have to say that for security reasons. Came to me through dreams and let me know that it's passed down through the blood. You don't have to take an oath. You don't have to be initiated. This is passed down through the blood. There is no cursing of the bloodlines and taking some weird, crazy ass oaths and like that. And from the Atlantis version, it's always been that way in Atlantis as well. And that comes from obviously the descendants of the dragon riders that created that. That's also what's in the Hebrew bloodline. But he said that it's passed down. And I can only go off of my bloodline. I can't go off of what other people say. These people told me, my grandfather told me that it is through epigenetics. It gets passed on naturally. There's nothing you need to do to learn it. It will get passed on naturally. And so that's what happened. That's how it was revealed. All the information was revealed to me, particularly about Psalms 23. A lot of this is not the only verse I know about that has this. It's so many. I'll probably do a whole series on these verses because it's all intergalactic mentalism. It's all part of the which descends from the order of Kali, from the order of the dragon riders and the Atlantean dimension, which obviously created the Hebrew bloodline. Now, all of these verses, whether it's Psalms 19, Psalms 15, they all have secret codes, just like Psalms 23. Like so many of them have secret codes. It's not even funny. It's not even funny how many of them. And so the information, I naturally know it because my ancestors have revealed it to me. My ancestors have already given it to me of what it really means because I'm a descendant of the founders that created all of this. And yes, Saint Bernard is also a descendant of King David. And again, they make a lot of these people look white skinned. A lot of them look they make them look white or whatever. But we all know that Moors have ruled Europe over at this time for 800 years, for almost 1,000 years. Also, we know, in addition to them ruling not just Spain, and they fled from a lot of them went to Ireland. But we also know that they were in Britain as well. And so when we talk about like King James, like a lot of people be saying, "Oh, King James wasn't black" and all this stuff. Yes, he was. You know, like these people, these was it? It's another Queen Anna. What's that? What's that? Anna Boleyn and all. Like these were black people. People get mad about it. I mean, they I don't understand. I don't understand why this upset about skin color. It's so childish and it's so childish in my opinion, but it is what it is. So they'll go back into history books and make everybody white, or they don't ever talk about the history of the Moors. 800. How do you just miss and gloss over 800 years of his history? Ask yourself that. Why aren't they teaching about the Jacobite Wars? Why are they not teaching about the Moors that fled Ireland and came over to America? Why are they refusing to teach about that? Why is that not in American history books? Why are they not talking about why these Black Americans have so much Irish blood in them? Are those white people or are those Moors? Why are they not talking about the Moorish science, the Moorish Masonic science that is embedded in American law and American governmental institutions? It's weird to me. I mean, it's there, but it's like we're not totally just off our rocker. Like this stuff, it has credence. How do you just gloss over 800 years of fucking history? When they lost that war, where did they go? When they lost the war in Spain and when they asses got exiled out of Ireland, where did they go? They came over here to America. They fled their ass over here, and guess they was a part of that slave trade. I'm not bigging up the Moors. A lot of the Moors, they did some fucked up shit. They cursed a lot of our bloodlines. That's why a lot of Black Americans are dealing with a lot of the shit that we deal with because of a lot. There's some messed up sludges in our bloodlines and the ancestral clearing, ancestral cleansings from the shit that they have done to the Indians and to the Africans. And so yeah, it might come with a lot of gifts, or it might come with a lot of a promise, especially if it's Sephardic, especially if it's part of the Hebrew. And even if you're indigenous, you can still have be a part of that bloodline, right? But what though it may come with that stuff, we still got a lot to answer for a lot of us, and that's why when we talk about Black Americans today, we see certain groups fighting amongst each other within our lineage. We'll see the Indians can't stand the Black Americans that got a lot of Black European in them. They can't stand them. They can't stand them, and vice versa. And the Black European acts like they can rule. The Black European Black Americans act like they can rule and conquer the Indian Black Americans. They still carry that on to this day, and we still fighting like that, like cats and dogs, literally to this day. I can pull up. I mean, come on, it all blew up in the reparation space itself. And then you got some of the Black Americans that got some of the African energy on them. We all carry these different energies because it's ancestral, because it's a part of our epigenetics. And yes, we're not all the same. Though we may be one lineage and share the history together of what happened to our ancestors. That could be true, but we all have different genealogy. And so your genealogy, you may have more Black Europeans, what we call Moors, Sephardic Moors, whatever. You may have more Indians. You may have more white blood, or you could have some more of African. And so you have to know your genealogy. But that's one of the reasons why Black Americans, even though we from the same lineage and grew up in Alabama together, Georgia together, or North Carolina, Texas, whatever, or even if you move to the north, we'll all have this camaraderie. We'll understand our Black American culture, right? Our soul food, our music genres, our gospel, our blues, our jazz, our cornbread, mac and cheese, collard greens, right? We understand that surface level things that bind us together, right? A butter pecan ice cream and shit like that. The cookout, the parties, the soul train. We'll understand that the idea of the Black church, the Baptist, Pentecostal, 7-Day Adventist, whatever. We get that, right? But then when we get in a room together, we want to plan something, you got certain groups that break out in factions and start fucking fighting. That's what happened when we wanted to do the reparation stuff. All the stuff with the Indians popped off. All the stuff with the freedmen, Moors popped off, right? Then the Hebrew Israelites come forward. These are different bloodlines at war with each other. And we can get along. We can. But I ain't going to hold you. Them Indians, they got a grudge. Indian Black Americans are going to always have a grudge against what the Moorish Black Americans had done to them. And even if we are mixed, I have both. And that's why, I always felt conflicted. That's why I was like, okay, we got to get along, we get along. And then the Indians will tell me I'll never get along with them Freedmens. I'll never get along with Moorish Black Americans. I hate them. They screwed us over once, they'll screw us over again. Yeah, they screwed us over. They couldn't stand them free. They can't stand them. And I remember one said, he said, I'll never over my dead body get along with them damn Black European and Black Americans. They call them Freemans, or they call them ADOS, whatever. But I'll never get along with them, ever. Not, and I can't get along with them. They'll tell you this. I'll never get along with. And then you'll have some that's kind of like, well, ain't we both? And you got some that's both, and they kind of form their own little thing. The one that recognize that they have indigenous Sephardic Moorish blood, and they feel they African ancestors come through. They'll connect more with, say, like this FBA stuff, or they'll venture off and just all into some other shit, or they still going by Pan Africanism or Sulani. Now they got the Sulan, and they have Negro, And so with Black Americans, that's very deep. You want to understand, like you want to study like your surnames. Did you come over from that Norman of Conquest of 1066 or 1088? Were you a part of those more Sephardic Masons that all came over to America to conquer America and to fuck over the Indians and to enslave the Africans and put the white man as the fall guy? Is that in your blood, Black American? You have to ask yourself and be honest. And you can always tell. I can always tell from a mile away by the way you carry yourself. But first, within 1 minute, I could tell. Okay, this is a person of the Sephardic Moorish, Sephardic Indian. Sometimes this is not Sephardic Moorish, sometimes Sephardic Indian, or just indigenous, or see sometimes you see a lot of European in them, or you'll get some of that African energy in them. I could tell what kind of Black American I'm dealing with within 10, 30 seconds. And there are only certain Black Americans that I can get along with. There are. Now, honestly, I have both Sephardic, Moorish, and Indian in me, right? And European and African, right? But I have more of Sephardic, Moorish, and Indian is what I claim mainly. Now, I can't relate to the treachery of them Sephardic Moors or just Moors in general, because even some of the Islamic Moors that's over here as Black Americans that mixed in with our shit, right? I can't relate to their treachery. I couldn't relate. I can't. A lot of them are treacherous, so I understand why the Indian Black Americans don't fuck with them. I really do get it because I'm like I can't relate to not I can't relate to the way they move. Like I can't. So I get it. And then I get the blowback from the Black American Indians because because they could recognize that blood in me, they recognize it immediately too. And they thinking I'm just like them. And I'm like, no, I can't. They don't really, the more Sephardic Black Americans, they respect me. They respect my mind. They know that I'm an intellect and they respect me. They do. But that don't mean that they don't try to backstab my ass just like they do the Black American Indians. They tried to backstab me and set me up for death and set me up with the government, with the help of the government, try to help the government assassinate me. They did the same shit to me that they've been doing for the last thousands of years to my bloodline. The same shit. They treacherous. And so I've recognized them immediately within 5 minutes of them opening their mouth. I'm like, I know I'm dealing with a Moor. Oh, I'm dealing with a Black American Indian. Well, I'm dealing with a hybrid a mixed Black American. That's all, I could tell. I'm dealing with someone with more white blood in them. I'm dealing with, I just know it instantly. I'm like, okay. Or I look at their surname. Or start looking up their surname, and I'll ask some of their grandparents' surname. I'll get their surname, get their grandparents' surname, and start to put the whole story together. And then I definitely know what kind of Black American I'm dealing with. Start doing that too. Start looking at them surnames. And then don't be afraid to ask where they from too. Were you from Georgia? You from Alabama? You from Texas? Start getting that too, and ask for their damn grandparents' surname. Don't be afraid to ask because you want to know what type of Black American you're dealing with. Because we do have stakes in our bloodline, in our lineage, and our bloodline deals with a lot of stuff. So we got a lot of fuckery still. So don't be afraid. Okay, and when it comes to those of us of the Sephardic Moorish Indian bloodline, if this information is starting to resonate with you more, you know, start looking into it. If Psalms 23 resonates, some of that stuff I was talking about with the 7 stages of alchemy and the science of the brain horns itself and the pineal gland, look into that stuff because it will come to you. It will hit you. Like this stuff hit me. I had an awakening, man. I had this thing in 2022 where it was like the apartment I was staying at the time. It was like a rule with my ancestors where you could go anywhere in the apartment, but don't come in my bedroom. Because I like to do all types of things in my bedroom. At that time, I used to drink. And so I would drink in my bedroom because I didn't want to drink in front of my ancestors. I had this huge altar out for them. And so with my ancestors, I'm like, you can't come in the bedroom because I watch porn. At that time I was just ratchet. So I was doing all types of stuff. And I was just like, I don't want you in the bedroom. Go anywhere, but don't come in the bedroom. And they agreed to that. They never came in the bedroom, but when I would I could feel their energy anytime I would go anywhere else in the apartment, like in the kitchen, living room, that type of thing. But one day, I don't know what happened. This is the same week that my grandfather died. What I told you when he came to me and she gave me all this information, and when Saint Bernard visited me, right? No lie, it was. Oh man, I could feel that there was spiritual warfare being done against me. That somebody enacted an occult war, a spiritual war against me for no reason. They were trying to sacrifice me. And no lie, I was laying on my bed doing research as I always do, and this floodgate, this rush of energy, this rush of ancestors, a very specific ancestor that came through in the bedroom. And I said, "Oh, this must be serious because y'all know not to come in the bedroom." And it was one of these women. It was a matriarchal grandmother that's related to Saint Bernard. She came to me, and literally, I felt her like a quantum entanglement session. I'll just say that quantum entanglement session. Like flood, she rushed into my body and kind of took over and started just researching all this stuff. It was just the amount of research she was trying to get, the information she was trying to get to me, because I guess I wasn't paying attention to the science. I don't know what was up. I don't know why she did that. She ran in that room. She said, "Look, you under spiritual attack." She said, "These motherfuckers is ready to kill your ass." And I'm like, "For what?" And she was just showing, she was typing and showing me stuff and all this stuff. And then she was giving me his information, Saint Bernard. And then, this, when they was just giving me all this information, she said, um, "It's about to get real, honey. It's about to get real. They're about to come for you. And I'm just letting you know." And she was she was giving me all this is what she was telling me about the Norman conquest of 1088. She started pointing out stuff in the genealogy trees. It was just deep. I had never had nothing like that happen to my life in my years of living. It was so deep. It was just unreal. I said, "Get out of here." And then she left. She went out the bedroom. I get up and I said, "I don't know what that was about," but I said it must have been real serious because they know not to come in that motherfucking bedroom. And then here's another thing. Now we're about to get a little deep in it, forgive me, but she was a white grandmother, because I have my sixth great grandmother on both of my father and my mother's side biologically. They are white women. They had black men, black Moors, impregnated. They were talking about in the early 1800s, late 1700s. At the time of slavery. Slavery didn't stop to 1865, but they are on the census documented as white. And so what she had came through. And I said, "Okay, what the hell's up with that?" I didn't understand what the hell that was. I mean, it really was like, whoa. The next day I get up, I go to the bathroom, and I hear the voice of Kalima said, "No drinking, no nothing. It's spiritual warfare. These people coming for you." And because I guess some of the stuff I was putting, that's when I was starting to get phone calls from people, like, about the information I was putting, books and stuff I was putting out. Like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm not initiating anything. And I don't know, all of the information I put in my 18 books are literally channeled through my research as a scholar and through my gnosis as a priestess. It's just raw. And so I guess I had stepped on some toes of some of the information I was putting in the books, or whatever. And so, that I had received a couple of phone calls that was kind of like, ooh, ooh. But they also gave me some information, some heavy information too. I'm not going to discuss what was in them phone calls, but they were kind of like, "Child, yeah, yeah." And so, that had happened. I went to the bathroom. I heard her say, "No drinking, no nothing. It's in spiritual warfare, girl." And I said, "What?" I'm thinking, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm just minding my business. I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And so then I walk out that bathroom, and I see, and again, this is kind of like, I gotta be very careful how I word this for security reasons. I feel, let me just say that I feel, I didn't see, I felt, um, like this energy of all these ancestors inside of that apartment by the ancestor altar. And I sense one of, because I don't think I should be sharing all of that. I'm not going to share all that. But nonetheless, it's kind of this thing where, um, with my ancestors, the ones that kind of predominated, because I was very closed off and very ignorant myself. At this time, I would only allow, like, the Indian ancestors, the Moorish ancestors were like more Moorish Irish. Some of the ancestors have revealed to me that they were from the Caribbean as well, and then also Africans. They were the ones that were allowed to kind of be all around the apartment and all this stuff. And I would feel the energy of the white ants. This was before I did my genealogy, mind you, and I didn't know that the matriarchs and a lot of my bloodline on both my father and mother's side were white. I didn't know that because I'm Black American. I'm Black American. Like after the white matriarchs, everything else says Black and Negro, right? Or colored, Black, Negro, colored, and they've been buried in Indian town. But before I had knew that, I just I just had like this. I could always feel white ancestors. I could feel them, but they weren't activated because they didn't feel welcomed. To be honest, they didn't feel welcomed, and some of my other ancestors didn't make them feel welcome. They didn't feel welcome, and but I could feel them, and I could feel that they knew that they were also a part of the bloodline of the royal military priesthood from Britain, and they knew some heavy information that they wanted to get to me, that they wanted to reveal in terms of how some of them did fall into that Satanist, as far as like some of them occult orders. Uh, they had wanted to give me some information about that, and they were blocked from getting it to me until that had happened. They were all when I had went through this spiritual warfare in 2022. They all had to put all that shit aside. I felt all of them together, literally planning on what they was going to do to save my damn life. And the white ones was singing like a canary of what was going on and who was doing it in terms of in the government and certain covens, the covens that were coming after me. They was singing like a canary, man. And that's when they had never before did that. They were never allowed to really be around the altar. They were never allowed to really come around. Like they never had access. But that day, for whatever reason, they were telling the Indian ancestors and the Moorish ancestors and the African ancestors what was going to happen and what they were planning and what they were trying to do to me. And they were all like coming up with a plan. They were all like trying to come like, what in the world? Like what did this girl get? And Saint Bernard was also one of them. He was also revealed at that time. And so it was really interesting. It was really interesting, man, because I'm not gonna hold you. Like they was doing all types of crazy ass rituals and stuff. And so when I read this book of Psalms and I see the stuff that David had struggled with and David went through, it's deep. It's really, it's like, damn, that same it speaks to my soul because it's the same shit that I've been going through with how these people want to get you to sell your soul or get you into contracts or try to come for you in the spiritual realm for no reason. And you just, like if you read these songs, he always talking about, please save my soul. Please, they coming after my soul. They trying to persecute my soul. They coming after my soul. Why they coming after your soul? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? It's deep. When we be talking in this, and then you read the murder reality of Pierce Beckett and it's set, and then you read the story of it all come together. This stuff they've been doing with getting niggas to barter their souls and with the contract system and the deal system and with the Goetia and all that stuff and with them. It's always been around for thousands of years. It's nothing new. And so what happened to me in 2022 was that's what the similar, the stuff was going on. And when I had asked, when I was going through my spiritual warfare, that's when one of the patriarchs of my family said, first thing that came out of his mouth, and he's a part of he was a part of a secret society. He claimed he left, and that's what kind of got all of us on the radar because he quit. He broke his oath. Okay. And so that's why they also came after me because they thinking I don't know what they thought. They might, is he telling her all this stuff? Like, I don't know I really don't have all that. I just know they came after me. Okay. I just know that. I just know that these motherfuckers tried to kill me. And I know that they tried to get me to barter my soul. That's all I know. And that they probably still will always do that. But I do know it has links to my family being a part of that. And I know that my patriarch admitted it. It took him a while to admit it because it was revealed to me by my ancestors, and I asked him, and he lied and said no. I asked him, and he lied. He lied, and then eventually, when shit got real the second time when it came after me, he actually just admitted it and said it was stuff I knew because his father told me. Saint Bernard told me. His father told me that they told me all the information, but my ancestors told me all the information. But yet, and still, my living family was still lying about it. Mind you, my ancestors had already revealed to me everything that was going on, you know. But the first thing he said was, when I had told him what was going on, he said, "Get the Bible." And he told me, he told me to read the books that have to deal with the contract stuff. That's the archon soul selling snatching type shit. Every book that he told me to read out the Bible had to do with that. And I said, oh, now it makes sense why he was telling me to read that, because that stuff is still going on today in 2024, with these societies and whatnot, and it's happening right before our very eyes. And I don't know what's going on with humanity. I'm like, I know humanity can't be that asleep. I'm like, y'all gotta be playing dumb. Y'all gotta be trying to play on somebody's head. Y'all gotta be tricking. I don't know, because it can't be that. It can't. I just refuse to believe that we that behind. Because I know I'm not that behind, but I refuse to believe that humanity is that behind. I really think that there is a group of humans that know information that are purposely playing dumb because of the situation that we are in with the ancient Draco technology that has been perverted under the direction of these bloodline families that are imposters, that are supposed to be out of rulership, as well as the inorganic ones that have currently taken control over ancient science that they have no idea what the hell they're doing with. And I think that there are a group of humans that are aware of what's going on. I want to believe that, because I'm like, I can't be the only one that can see it. I know I'm not the only one that can see it. I know other people are aware of it. I know that other people are aware of what happened to me, because there was other people that had no idea, that had no connection to me, that didn't know me, but they were either pastors, priestesses, occultists, or in secret societies. They knew what was happening to me, and many of them decided to help. Some of them didn't care. Some of them were a part of it, but there were some, whether they were Africans and Black Americans. Now I've noticed a lot of the white ones are helping now spiritually, but a lot of the Africans and Black Americans, and even very advanced Christians who understand this knowledge, and advanced Muslims. So those are those who um, understand the esoteric sciences behind Islam and Christianity. Though they have been helping me as well, because, and then obviously you have my ancestors and gods and whatever. But I know it's other people that have to understand what I'm talking about, because in the spiritual realm, the astral realm, they have helped. Um, and it's been advanced, very advanced um, Christians and Gnostics that have helped me in the astral realm. Now, when I say advanced, I'm not talking about a baby Christian. I'm talking about those who understand that can access the astral realm. They can astral travel. They can remote view. They have tons of spiritual gifts. Okay, them type that realize, like, oh shit, that they could see it, then I couldn't see it. They could see things that I couldn't see. For years, people have been trying to tell me what was going on with what was happening with me. I've had that same lady I was telling you about, that was a Moor, that could do all that carpentry and that building with her hands naturally. She told me that within 5 minutes, she knew that I was in a government program and being watched, that I was put in some sort of government program without my knowledge. And that first thing she asked was, she's like, were you in a foster care system? And I said, yeah. And she said, she started trying to tell me about interdimensional beings. She started to show me all this knowledge, and it was too much at the time. And I thought she was crazy. I ain't gonna hold you. I was like, what is she doing? What is she talking about? And she was trying to tell me. She was trying to put me on game. I remember she was trying to teach me stuff about the Hebrew bloodline, and teach me stuff about conjure. And it just was too much. At that time, I wasn't thinking about that. Like, I was just looking at her like, what are you talking about? But she said, you are being watched by our government. I said, what are you talking about? She said, mm-mm. She said, within 5 minutes, she said, you've been in a program since she said, you in a foster care system? I said, yeah. She said, nah, they put you in some shit when you was like 5 years old, and you just never know. And I just thought she had lost it. I thought she was cool. We used to really talk. We talked for 8 hours straight. We used to talk for 8 hours straight, go out together, hang together, so at that, even though I thought that was odd behavior, I still loved her. You know, I didn't care about that because I'm like, you know, she good people's, and you know, she was older than me. So when I was 25 at the time, 25, 26. Do you know she was at 52? So this lady knew some shit. She wasn't just no ignorant, no, we both 20 in our 20s just conjured up, making up some shit. You know, she was in her 50s. So she got, you know, obviously she had a lot more wisdom than me. And me being 25, she was older than me, my mom. And she said that she had tried to put me on game. She was like, girl, that was when I was 25. And it still did hit me. I still was in la la land as far as the seriousness of this. She was trying. She was trying to show me about something with some Hebrew stuff, and then she was trying to show me some stuff about interdimensional beings, different galactic starseed species that's on this planet. It was too much. I was like, I don't know about that. Let's just go out to eat and drink. That was my thing back then. Drink and go out to eat. That's all I care about. So I'm much more wiser now at 32 years old. But I thank for her for them gems because it all makes sense now. It's all making sense. It's all making total sense. So yes, that was a nice little you know, tangent, but nonetheless, I had been wanting to really break down the book of Psalms. Not the book of Psalms, Psalms 23. I'm probably gonna do Psalms 19 next because I like Psalms 19. So I'll do that next, and I'll talk to you guys later. And oh, matter of fact, I do want to share my links because I keep forgetting to do that. I'm not a good promoter of like the things that I do or you know the things that I'm into. But if you guys like to do, if you guys want a spiritual reading, I do spiritual readings. You can call at this number. Or if you want to do live chat, I also do live chat with the spiritual readings. You can go to this link right here, and I'll be on, and we can do it. We can initiate a live chat, and or you can go on Etsy or my website as well. You can also book on Etsy if you want pre-recordings. If you don't want it live, if you want a pre-recorded where I record and then send it to you, we can do it that way. But if you want live, you call the number or we can do the chat. And so that's another way you can reach me. I have books. I have 18 books, various topics. Spiritual topics, esoteric topics, scientific topics, cultural topics, a lot of stuff for Black Americans, a lot of scholarship. And so I'll put the links to my books here so you guys can get in touch at any point, email me. And it doesn't, I'm not a natural salesperson. I'm a teacher. So it's really hard for me to like talk about like, okay, here, purchase this. You know, it doesn't come natural to me. But these are the things that I do too. Like after I get off of here, I did a reading, pre-recorded reading for a client before I got on here, and then I'm also going to do some live, some live readings after this. I'll be on all of these avenues. So if you guys want to do the chat or just call, I'll be available probably within the next, probably I would say 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to give me something to eat and then I'm going to log on. And so I thank you guys for sticking it through, and I'm going to talk to y'all later. Bye.